What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Holy Guacamole Jesus. Hope y'all doing well. In this video, we're going to talk about waiting on God. Waiting on God. Wow. When you're in the waiting room, it looks like things aren't happening. It looks like they're not coming together on the outside. It looks like it's never going to work or happen. And oftentimes in the waiting room, we can get discouraged and we start thinking like Job thought. And Job, he thought like, oh, what am I doing? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Trying to understand, oh, I loathe the day I was born, right? And we start to go into this pattern of holding on to try to figure out why it's happening. Maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I need to say more. Maybe I need to try harder. Maybe it's something I'm doing, right? And that's where the enemy tries to keep you from the goodness of God. Because when things don't look good or they're not going well, as humans, we tend to go, man, I need to do more. I'm not doing enough. I need to try harder. And then we get frustrated, we get anxious, we get worried. But in the Bible, it says, be anxious for nothing. By prayer and supplication, make your requests known to God. And He will make them happen. See, in the waiting room is where God develops faith. In the waiting room is where God takes you and refines you into fire. So that when He's ready to take you where you're going in your life, you're going to be so rooted and firm in the truth that the storms of life or anything that comes about isn't going to shake who you are, because you know so deeply who you are, and that happened in the waiting room. And when you're in the waiting room, that's where you wait for God to develop your character into where He's preparing you to go. See, the waiting room isn't a punishment. The waiting room is God's room of redefining your character. There's a verse that says, after a little while of suffering, the God of all grace, who has called you to His eternal glory through Christ Jesus, will Himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. You're being confirmed, strengthened, restored, and established. Don't confuse it. See, we oftentimes in the waiting room, what I've noticed in my life is sometimes the waiting room can be a long time. And it can be so long where we're like, man, it's never going to happen. God's abandoned me. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I guess I'm just, I guess He's got no plans for my life. And that's where we start to kind of go into this cycle of because the biggest fear for any human is to be abandoned by God. So oftentimes we abandon God because we don't want God to abandon us. Because when God says, my love is the same today, tomorrow, and forever, that scares us sometimes because we've never had a love that stays. If you relate to that, comment in the box. Love stays. So the waiting room is so special. It's so important because God is building His relationship with you. To wait on God. So when He says speak, speak. When He says shut up, shut up. When He says move this way, you move. When He says stay still, you stay still. He's teaching you how to hear His voice clearly in the chaos of the world. He's teaching you to keep your peace. He's teaching you to always come back to joy, love, and peace. And he's teaching you that these states are your default. And he's teaching you in the waiting room to not be controlled by your emotions, to not be controlled by your thoughts. Your thoughts are like clouds. They come and they go. Your emotions are just a feeling, and they go like this. And he's teaching you not to hold on to that, but instead to hold on to faith and trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And yes, I understand it can be difficult in the waiting room, especially if you're waiting on marriage, if you're waiting on finances, if you're waiting on other people, if you're waiting on the doors to open and you're wondering why? Why, God? Why? Why aren't you doing anything? But don't let your frustration blind you from what God is doing in the waiting room. Because what he's doing in the waiting room is more than you will ever imagine or understand. So trust that the waiting room is a room where God is waiting on you to trust fully. Hope this video helps. Comment, I'm in the waiting room if this is your season. Comment, God, do a work in me. And if you don't believe in God, God still believes in you. And remember, God has plans for your life, plans to prosper you, plans to give you a hope and a future, and plans not to harm you. Will you wait and trust that? God bless.